What's going on, everybody? This is Jake from College Football Red Zone coming with you live with yet another 50,000 feet perspective of one of just 138 programs that make up major college football. And today, what we're going to find ourselves doing is we are going to dive ourselves into the 120th ranked team from my home state, to be honest with you, and maybe one of the closer FBS programs from my personal neck of the woods. So excited to see this team be revealed, as well as what they can do here in the 2026 fall campaign. So if you guys are excited for today's deep dive, I need you to go ahead, do a couple of things for me, and that is hit that like button, as well as hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And with that, I hope you guys enjoy this 50,000 foot perspective on the 120th ranked team in college football, and that is going to be your Bowling Green Falcons, who are in the midst of a newer era. They brought in a brand new head coach in Eddie George, which, for someone that is a first-time FBS head coach, this was a nice fit. This is someone that understands the state of Ohio, and this is very important because Bowling Green is always the type of program that needs to work the state of Ohio in terms of filling out its roster, as well as occasionally reaching out to other states like the state of Indiana, or going into Michigan, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, really those border states. So Eddie George being in here and the level of name recognition that he has, being a former Heisman Trophy winner, that I think is going to provide dividends down the road. Now, this Bowling Green team was off to a hotter start, and there was real conversations here about possibly Bowling Green playing in Detroit at the end of the season. The thing is that they completely fell apart in the second half of the season. I think they started 4-2, and then they proceed to lose their next 6 games. They did not win a single game for the remainder of the season. So the million-dollar question here, more than anything, is how do you reverse that momentum and you kind of get back to where you need to be, to where at least you're floating in bowl contention and you get yourself back into bowl season. So that will be the challenge for Bowling Green this upcoming season under second-year head coach Eddie George, who now he does at least have a full year, a full offseason where he comes in after the spring transfer portal window, which did since close down permanently because of the fact that of those rules change and because their previous coach did leave to take an NFL job. So Eddie George at least had a full off season. And while it wasn't the ideal transfer portal class, at the same time, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Now they do lose quite a few players to power conference programs. I am particularly worried about what the special teams is going to look like with Jackson Cleaver leaving to go play for Northwestern. He was someone that started for Bowling Green and is perfectly capable of starting for Northwestern. So that's going to be a nice add for the Wildcats for their special teams. I also worry about who's going to be the primary playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, because two of their top playmakers in Cameron Petaway, he transfers to Iowa State, and he had a nice season with the Falcons last season, alongside Jacob Harris, the tight end who transfers to Wisconsin. Potential breakout player, could have been a star player for the Falcons this year, but instead he'll be working to try to get a starting job with the Wisconsin Badgers instead. And then how about Nate Pefs, one of the better offensive linemen? He transfers to Florida State. Again, someone that could have been an all-MAC player for this Falcons team, but instead be looking to enter the Florida State starting lineup. So some offensive pieces that they're going to have to replace. Oh, and then they also lost a couple of really good players on the defensive side of the ball in Gideon Lamprum, who transfers to Colorado, as well as MJ Cannon, who transfers to Cincinnati. LeBron transferring to Colorado, that it might be the biggest loss of those notable transfer portal guys, because he had almost 120 combined tackles plus 17 and a half TFLs as well. So that's a lot of production just from one player that you're going to have to replace. Now, is not all bad. It is certainly not all bad by any means. They did add a couple of really nice players from the FCS ranks, whether it's Kamarian Baldwin, the running back from Charleston Southern, who had almost 800 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns last year. Or De'Mondre Braxton, the corner out of NC Central, who had multiple interceptions last year as well in, I believe, the MEAC, if I'm not mistaken, for NC Central. So, some intriguing pieces and overall more stability than what we're seeing last year because of the fact that they had the same coach over the duration of the entire offseason. So, that's what Bowling Green has working for them at this time, which is why, I have them ranked a little bit higher than maybe expected in spite of those transfer portal losses. So, let's go ahead now and check the schedule for this Bowling Green's Falcons team going into year number 2. And this is going to be listed as a safe game, but I wouldn't be completely shocked if they ended up losing this game. They opened the season up against Tarleton State. The Texans are a really good FCS program. They're talked about as one of the next programs to make the jump up to join us in major college football. So they have them at home. So Tarleton State has to travel quite a ways to play this Bowling Green team. But even though I do have it as a safe win because I trust Eddie George here a little bit more in year number 2, losing that game, it would be a surprise, but it wouldn't be a shock to me if Bowling Green loses that game. But I do think they have what it takes to win that game and win comfortably. But then it gets tougher as you get into the rest of non-conference play, and even the start of conference action is gonna not going to lend itself to a super kind schedule for the Falcons at Nebraska and at Iowa State. Those are two power conference environments, and I just don't think that Iowa or Bowling Green has enough to compete with the power conference teams just yet. I think we're about a year away from asking them to be competitive against a power conference team. Even USF at home, USF not the same team as what they were last year, but they still have a lot of talent in comparison to a lot of the teams in the MAC, and it's not just Bowling Green. So I do think Brian Hartline, another Ohio State guy, is able to go into Bowling Green Stadium and beat the Falcons under Eddie George. And then even conference play, some tough road games in conference play, whether it's Miami of Ohio, which I think has certainly a puncher's chance to go to Detroit and win this conference at the end of the season. Or how about Western Michigan? They play them on the road as well. So Western Michigan, they're the defending conference champs, and they return quite a bit of talent as well. So Western Michigan is going to be a challenge. And then how about the Toledo Rockets? The Rockets under Mike Jacobs. I think he's brought some of his guys from Mercer. Mercer was a very good FCS program last year. So I think Toledo could certainly create some challenges in their rivalry game at the end of the season as well. So some tough conference games, which is with a tougher non-conference, which is why I don't have the ceiling super high for Bowling Green because I do only have them going 6-6 at best. But overall, I still think that there's going to be progress made, and I think they're going to be able to reverse some of that momentum from the end of last season. Like, for example, Sacramento State and Ball State, they have both of those games at home. I think Bowling Green is better than both of those teams combined, which is why I have them ranked higher than Ball State and Sacramento State, which I talked about earlier. So I think those are games that are going to win. I think they're going to be competitive games, though. Buffalo is another winnable game as well. But this time last year, I probably would have said that this was a safe loss for Bowling Green, but Buffalo is a little bit more vulnerable than expected. And I don't have as much trust as Beat Lambeau as I did this time last year. So I still think Buffalo wins that game, but I still think that that's going to be a competitive game too. And then, of course, Kent State. I've always talked about how good Mark Carney has done as a head coach at Kent State last year. Is that lightning in a bottle, or is that something concrete that's going to be building it in Kent, Ohio? We'll just have to wait and see. But for now, don't have a lot of trust in the Kent State program as a whole to go on the road and win a game on the road, even in conference play. I know they did it a couple of times last year, but I mean, to be fair to them, I don't have Kent State as a favorite to win any road games this year. So that's where I'm at. Oh, and then they finished the season out with UMass. I obviously think Bowling Green is better than UMass at this time. Granted, UMass is a better team, but I think that's a safe win as well. So I do think they make some progress here. They do better than the 4-8 record, but maybe not quite good enough to make it to a bowl game. I think that's going to hinge on the Buffalo game at the end of the year. If they beat Buffalo, then we're talking about a bowl team. If not, then they're going to finish under 500 once again. I think that's going to be the most important game of the year for the Falcons is that eighth game against Pete Lambeau in year number 3. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's what I have for the Bowling Green Falcons going into Eddie George's second year. And I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are on Bowling Green football this fall. But if you enjoyed this video, I do need you to do a couple of things for me real fast. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. A lot of work goes into not only ranking all of these teams, but also being able to record all of these videos and get them edited for you guys because I want to try to get 1 or 2 out a day for you guys to enjoy. But in the meantime, this is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.